volatility of the working environment. You have these, snap judgments and all the rest of it. Because I think that everybody would have said, if you'd have lost that Coventry game, Spurs would have been in crisis. I don't know if you accept that, but can you talk a little bit about that and just how you personally deal with this kind of crazy world that you inhabit?
Look, I think, firstly, you can sort of, if we lost the other night, then, it would have been in crisis. But if we won our first game, I'd be sitting here and, people saying, well, can you win a title this year? So, and both of it are just not the reality of my world. So I've always been pretty good at just sort of, as I keep saying, staying clear-eyed and focused about what's important to me in terms of what I'm trying to build. And I think the external noise, whether it's valid or not, I just find is a massive distraction to what you're trying to do. And, I've learned along the way not to, in both ways, whether things are going well or they're not going well, not to let that external noise distract me from, like I said, what I think and what I believe needs to be done. Many parts of my life I'm not very disciplined, especially around eating, but when it comes to football, I'm really disciplined. Like, nothing will take me away from what I think needs to be done. I don't really care. I don't care, but I just won't let it into my space.
Is there anything specific, maybe non-football, that you might do? I don't know, I'm sure you've hardly got enough minutes in the day, but is there anything that you can take yourself away?
No, like I said, it's about sort of, some of it's just about the world you live in and where you're taking in information. I think, the people around you are important. So make sure that I surround myself with people, particularly, in the working environment, that, understand me and understand that, and make sure that they're also clear on what we're trying to achieve and not get distracted. And then, outside of football, again, it's the people you surround yourself with and where you take, you get that sort of feedback and information you need for yourself. So, I've got a pretty sort of closed world around me that's kind of developed over 26 years of doing what I do, and I can sort of insulate myself maybe better than others from whatever the noise may be.
Do you do yoga?
Oh, no chance, mate. I've got no patience for it, mate. Yeah. Nothing wrong with yoga, by the way, for anyone who does it. Yeah.
Can I, do you mind if I go back to Romero and the goal against Arsenal and the fact that you retweeted that thing about travel after? Have you rethought about that? Might you change or look again at
sorry, what?
international travel?
Oh no, look, I mean, I think the question was around, sort of that game in particular. I don't like kind of, again, post-game trying to find sort of reasons or maybe excuses for things. I'd rather deal with them on merit, and we prepared well for that game. But that's a separate issue of we've always got to look after our player welfare. I mean, we've spoken about earlier about, the international aspect of our footballers, and I know better than most how much travel and time difference and rest, how important it is when preparing for games. So it's something that we should definitely we look at, but I think it's something you look at as an individual basis. But my point around the Arsenal game was that I didn't think it affected our sort of build up for that.
And he took a bit of stick for the goal, I think, after that. Was that bother him? Does it bother you? He's always seemed like your leader at the back.
He is, and he wasn't happy about it, but he also knows that these are things happen in football, and it's how you respond to it. And mate, I love him as a player, as a person, the way he trains, the way he conducts himself. He's a winner. I said, I think last week when people asked me, having people who have won things in the building, how important it is, and he's a living embodiment of that. But that doesn't make you sort of bulletproof. There are going to be days where it doesn't work out for you, and he was disappointed that he couldn't do more in that space. It wasn't just him though. There was a combination of things that cost us that goal, and there was a combination of things that cost us that game. But it's not like he's gone into his shell afterwards. He wants to get back out there and make amends.
Tom?
Ange, you talked about if sometimes it feels like you're swimming against the tide, it's okay to make you stronger. Does it feel like at the moment you're doing a bit of swimming against the tide?
No, I think the point I was trying to make is I ignore the tide, I just keep swimming. So, but others may feel that way, and I think if they do, then there's nothing wrong with that. I keep saying you need to embrace the struggle, because you don't get success just by everything rolling out perfectly. There's times you just got to roll your sleeves up and keep going, and whether that's swimming against the tide, running uphill, going against the wind, use whatever metaphor you want. That's great. That's what you need. But like I said before, I ignore it because I don't think that's going to help me in any way. What's the best process for me is to, like I said, just stay steely-eyed, focus on what I think I need to do to get us to where we want to.
And how does it compare to your times at other clubs, say in Japan, that first season, where people were questioning? Is it very similar, or is it different?
No, it's all the same. It's been a constant in my career, and but I think I don't think I'm in a unique space. I keep saying to people, just show me a success story and I'll show you a struggle. It's not something that's unique to me, it's universal, but people forget the struggle and look at kind of the end bit. But you need to go through that. That's the time you test your resolve, test your belief, test everything that you want to do. So this is no different to anything else I've ever done. It's exactly the same process.
And just on Brennan, you obviously spoke about him last week, and the views he had. You obviously scored the goal. Have you, after that press conference or the lead up to the game, have you had a chat with him? Because I know social media, there's a question over how big a deal it is, but particularly to a young guy like that. It does look like it has affected him a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Like I think I said on the last week, it's a shame that something that young people, for their own reasons, seem to enjoy. They have to close off from because of abuse, and I don't think that's right. I haven't spoken to Brennan about it. The lads kind of know what I'm about and kind of my beliefs, and I keep telling them the same thing. It's the most important people in your life. They're the ones you've got to worry about their opinion, not anyone else's, in terms of validation. And just keep enjoying it. I mean, he won a game of football for us the other night. With really good finish in a critical moment. I reckon you put any one of his critics in that situation, and they'd be looking for a change of pants pretty quickly, I reckon. But they don't think about that in that moment. But that's at the same time, Brennan's had a dream of being a professional footballer his whole life from a little kid, and now he's living that dream. And I'd hate to think he's not enjoying it. I keep saying to him, we're all pretty blessed to do what we do. Even in the worst of times, we're still pretty lucky to be able to do what we wanted to when we were 10 years old. Not many people can say that.
Just finally on Brennan, because I think it was Brentford at home last year when he came off the bench and they were quite a big impact. It feels like his challenge at the moment is turning these super sub appearances into starting from the beginning. Is that how you see it? Is that his next?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I think, the other night he literally started. He came on after 10 minutes, so it wasn't like he was a late sort of sub. But I think when he comes on a sub, obviously he can make an impact. Opposition's a little bit tired, the game's a bit more open. No, I just think with Brennan, it's just the consistency in his game that we're constantly working on with him. You know, he's always getting into good areas. It's about sort of decision making sometimes in that front third. But it's a difficult position to play as a young player. And you know, with his skill set, you know, I think once he kind of unlocks in his head sort of the stuff he's really good at and kind of adjusts his game to make sure he gets the most out of that aspect of it, I think he'll become, you know, a very important player for us. But you know, like I said, he works hard every day on that, and you know, sometimes people just look at goals and assists, which is the obvious measure for attacking players. But he also gives us a lot of other things, particularly, you know, working hard defensively, which he's worked hard at. He had to when he first came to us. It wasn't something that was natural to him. He's got a lot better at that. But it's just now just keep putting layers on his game.
With those difficult moments earlier in your career, did you always take it in similar stride to how you're dealing with it now, or is it something you've had to develop and learn yourself through the years?
No, you kind of, you like think you get a bit wiser with every experience, and maybe you know, kind of know what's coming, so you're better prepared for it. But the one truism about the whole thing is I don't change as a person or what I believe. That's been a constant. How I go about it, yeah, sort of depends where you're at too, the club you're at, who you're dealing with, you know, sort of all those kind of things. So, but in terms of me as a person, haven't really changed through that.
You mentioned in the broadcast section about Solanke's profile fitting what you wanted. Could you elaborate on what you meant by, like, what aspects of his profile in particular gave him the edge over perhaps alternative options?
It was kind of a combination of things, you know, the kind of striker he is in terms of his mobility. He's, you know, last year he's, you know, obviously with Adoni going to Bournemouth, they changed the way they played, really strong pressing side. He was at the forefront of that. That's an important part of what we do. He's got a real good presence in the box. So it's a whole range of things, the kind of person he is, you know, where he's at in his career. You know, he's, again, I talk about struggle. He had some struggles early in his career, but he's come through those. And so it's you know, it's not just one or two things. It's a kind of all-round fit that I thought, for what we need right now, I thought Dom was the ideal.
And finish with John, please.
The things you said about social media, to me, make perfect sense. That's completely how I see it. But how does a long-term manager exist in a world? Can he exist in a world?
I got no idea, and thankfully, you know, long term for me is not that long. You know, so yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's you know, you have to live in that world. You have to understand it. I mean, you know, people saying, well, you know, tell players to not use their, you know, to get off social platforms, and that. It just, you can't do that. That's a different world. And like I said, they seem to enjoy engagement in that sense. So who am I to judge? You know. But I don't like I said, there was years, you know, when it first got in, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the immediacy of information. The information came from different sources, you know, and you kind of knew, okay, there was always rat bags on there that gave, you know, some abuse and stuff and things that you just kind of could ignore. But I just think the volume of that now is totally superseded anything positive that you get, from my perspective anyway, because I'm a curious kind of guy. I'm an information junkie. I like to look at different resources, ways to kind of nourish my brain as much as my limited brain space as much as I can. And I don't get anything out, like, you know, probably, like I said, 2-3 years ago, I started looking at it and going, I don't get anything out of it anymore. That gives me any sort of sense of positivity about what I want to do, so just stay off it.
Is it fair to say that in an outlook like that, you need employers who think the same way? The average, I mean, managers don't last as long as they. This is not talking about you. It's in general.
Yes, you are. Yeah, no, I think that's an aspect to it. I think that the tenure of managers and the patience people have with anything, I guess, has exponentially shortened or lessened with the expansion of so much so many platforms of, people one way or another trying to, rush to judgment and make calls on things, I think. And it's difficult, like I said. I mean, if I was a young manager today, I suspect I'd deal with it differently. I think if I was sort of starting out today and I'm thinking, what's the next sort of 20, 30 years going to look like as a manager in any football club or working in this environment, I'd be thinking, you probably go, you know what, I'm going to be thinking short term, with everything I do, just little hits along the way so I can get a career for myself, because very few spaces where you can go, okay, they still exist, and usually they're the success stories, but they're the exceptions rather than the rule.
Is this the most difficult job you've had then, for reasons like this?
I think the most difficult job I had was the first one, because I reckon if I failed my first one, I wouldn't have got anything else. I was coaching my hometown club, club I grew up with. The only reason probably I got an opportunity was because they knew me at that club, and I don't think I would have got an opportunity anywhere else if I wasn't successful. And I think after 5 games we were sitting no wins, bottom of the table, so that was pretty difficult. But they're all challenging, but that's why I love it. That's why I do what I do. I kind of enjoy. I've always said I enjoy the struggle, enjoy the difficult bits, and who knows how it all ends? I don't know. No one knows. Like I said, for me, it's just about doing what I believe is the right thing to do, in my eyes, to get success and hopefully change the fortunes of this fantastic football club.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.